Getting ready to go on the road for first time this season. Road SEC tests are always difficult. There's no way around it. I think any conference, when you go on the road in it, it's always a test of focus, patience, endurance, composure, all the qualities you need to be a good team. So we get our first one going to Auburn. Got a lot of respect for Hugh and the job he's done everywhere he's been. He's really been successful. He's very bright. He does a great job with his team, and they're playing really, really hard right now. And got a lot of guys in, transfers in that have added to their depth, and they're doing a really good job, playing extremely hard. And I know the environment we'll be going into will be extremely tough.
Coach, when we spoke to you last week about crowd noise, you mentioned simplifying the game plan just a little bit offensively to avoid some of those issues. What does that look like?
Really don't know. I think that's depends on the level of maybe experience you have, how you choose to use your offense. I think everybody's different, so we'll put a plan together and do the best job we can.
Based on what you've seen and you know about Carson Beck, how do you feel about his ability to handle his first SEC road start?
I think that's something that we're going to find out. I don't think you know. I think he's been through some ups and downs. He's certainly been against good defenses like Auburn has. He goes against our guys. So it's different when it's live. So you got to find out how he responds to that. And I'm very confident in Carson's ability to communicate, to understand things. He's been in our system. You only get good at these situational football things by playing football for a long time. And he's been with us for a while doing it. It's his first chance to do it, on the road.
Auburn uses both their quarterbacks and in the run game. Just what are your thoughts on Thorne and Robbie Ashford, and how do you deal with both of them?
Well, they're both really good athletes. I don't think people give Peyton Thorne enough credit for his athleticism and quickness. Now, obviously, you talk about Robbie, you're talking about a different kind of athlete. This guy's as fast as anybody we've ever played against, with size and a strong arm. So they do a good job of using, number one, their backs run extremely hard, extremely physical and tough, and are hard to tackle. Then you combine that with the quarterback run, and it creates a lot of eye candy, a lot of misdirection. They do a really good job. Maybe Hugh always has done a good job of that.
Kirby, it's been, 7 years since you've gone up against Hugh. How similar is what they're doing this year to what he was doing back then when he was at Ole Miss, especially offensively? I
think that people evolve. They've evolved. They've evolved in protection. They've evolved in route structure. He has, he's not the same staff he had. Now, Hugh doesn't do everything, so he's got a staff that he puts in charge of doing things, and they've gone out and added some wrinkles. There are qualities and traits of his DNA, his offense from years ago, that are still a part of this, but there's things that have been added, just like defensively we've added things throughout the years too.
Yeah, when Jamon was in here, he said he would characterize his own play as average so far this season. Just what have you seen from him in sort of in year two as a starter and progressing through these first 4 games this season?
A good leader. He's been a little more vocal this year, which I think is important. He has the pulse of the team, of when to push somebody and when to back off a young player and help them and pat him on the back. So he's done a good job in terms of that.
Kirby, in July in Nashville at the SEC Media Days, you were talking about how you were so concerned about complacency and its impact on the team. And I'm curious, just 2 months later, what have been your thoughts, observations about that?
Hard to say. I think the focus level each week has been good. The results always haven't, but the preparation is what's more important to me. Like, I actually put a lot of value on Monday to Friday, mental makeup, disposition, practice habits, improvement. We've repeatedly said we want to be elite at getting better, and I've really been pleased with the progress that we've made. So that makes me feel comfortable that there's no complacency there.
Kirby, I know you've talked about Ladd's situation as frustrating. What is it that you need to see to be able to say, hey, we feel confident in him going out there on Saturday?
Well, you've got practice. You've got to be able to practice, and that's a big part of it. And he's going to be able to come back to practice this week, and we're going to be able to do some more things with him. How he does in those things will determine whether or not he's able to play. We had a kind of a 2-week advised shutdown. He's done that, and we're expecting to be able to go out there today and do some things, but non-contact early in the week and try to move to that.
Kirby, I wonder if you can help break the tie for me. I asked Pop about Brock's patented stiff arm. He says Brock's too smart to try that in practice in the linebacking crew. Brock says he'd love to do it, but he can't get close to the linebackers. What's your take on who wins those Brock versus your linebacking battles in practice?
We don't have a lot of Brock versus linebacker battles. I mean, most of the battles, there's no stiff arm because he's usually caught the ball and run away from them when they're on him. There's not an opportunity to. So maybe a run after catch type deal, screen or something like that. But Brock's stiff arm's pretty strong. I mean, I saw that firsthand.
Coach, I believe they've been using Robbie Ashford as more of a red zone threat, or Hugh Freeze at least mentioned a red zone package for him. What would be the advantages of having an athletic quarterback down in the red zone?
Yeah, extended plays. It's an extra element. In the red zone, every defense has an extra hat because nobody has to back up and play deep anymore. So it becomes really tough to get the ball in the red area in our league, and Robbie gives you that dimension. I mean, he is elite at the plays they do with him down there. They're really hard to defend because there's so many options to it. They got good runners, they got good people to block, and then you add him to it and the fact he can throw, it makes for a difficult situation. They do a good job with his package.
Yeah, you mentioned the eye candy and stuff that Auburn creates. Just how critical is it going to be for, especially the younger inside linebackers like C.J. Allen, Jalen Walker, guys who maybe haven't seen that kind of offense before, to stay disciplined against them on Saturday?
It's very important. It's very important in every game they have discipline eyes.
Yeah, Jamon's talked about some of the communication issues that have been happening on the defensive side. When you have a guy like Javon Bullard, who's such an important communicator on the back end, how hard is that to replace when he is out with injury? And then I guess on Javon, plan for this week, practice, and then see how he goes as he recovers from that ankle injury?
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to do more, hoping to get him back. No more, if he gets more done today and tomorrow, if he's able to practice any, we'll obviously know more. But I don't feel any communication issues as a result of Javon, because Dan is really bright. David Daniel's really bright. They know our system. They've been in it. So I don't foresee any communication issues there with Bull being out.
Obviously, the 2.5 long drives are concerning. You've mentioned that before. I mean, just in reviewing that the last couple of weeks, have you found any kind of common denominators that you can point to improve in that area?
Execution by the offense, a couple explosive plays, extended plays by the quarterback. Throw and catch the ball, man. They throw and catch the ball. They tend to move it, and both those cases they did. I helped them last week by calling timeout, so that didn't do anything but benefit the offense. So some of it's decision making, some of it's execution, some of it give them credit. When you execute, do things well, you'll have success.
Kirby, what stands out to you about Auburn's running backs and the fact they've got several different guys that they've used to start this year?
Yeah, the difference in the guys. I mean, they've got one of the hardest guys to tackle in the SEC, and he runs really hard. He's physical. They've got fast backs. They got elusive backs, downhill backs. I mean, they do a good job. It's like by committee, and they've got several guys that have done really well.
Kirby, you've been at Auburn as a player, an assistant, head coach. You spoke about that a little bit Saturday night. Could you elaborate on what makes different road environments unique to themselves?
I think they're more similar than unique. I would have a hard time, pinpointing differences other than they're all loud as hell in our conference, and they do a great job. I mean, we went to Missouri last year, and I thought it was as loud as anything at night. The environment was really loud, and it's not even an enclosed stadium. you know, and this stadium is enclosed, and you know, it's similar to ours. People have always said there's a similarity between the look of theirs and ours, but it's extremely loud. I mean, I don't know how to differentiate, you know, one school to another because they're just loud. All their fans are passionate. It's a very similar environment.
Coach, you mentioned helping them out with that 2-minute timeout. I'm assuming that was because you guys wanted to get the ball back or get a 2-minute possession right there before the half. Is that one of those examples of a coaching decision that you might second guess only because it didn't result in a positive result?
Sure. I mean, you second guess every decision, whether it works or not. So you can make the wrong decision and it work out good, and it's still the wrong decision. You know, you can make the right decision and it come out wrong, and I still think it's the right decision. So it's just a matter of philosophically what you believe in. And I want to be aggressive and always try to get the ball back for our team and show confidence in the players that we're going to stop.
Brock and Jamon said you blew the speakers last week. You know, is that, first, have you gotten replacement ones in? And is that something that you do, you know, not just for road games but home games as well, work on that crowd noise aspect?
We use crowd noise year round. We use it in spring. It's a great change up. Coaches can't coach the players. They don't necessarily like it because people get a headache, but we've done it since the first day of practices camp. We did it 4 practices in the spring. We do it all the time. It doesn't matter though, because the crowd noise doesn't always create the anxiety, you know. So you can't simulate that. You simulate the communication it requires, and we play at home in one of the loudest stadiums in the country, so our defense has to communicate during it. So I like doing it both ways, and it makes players, you find out what they know when nobody's out there yelling and screaming at them. So it's important. But you know, we got the speakers fixed. I don't think they blew because of us, but it may have just been old age.
Kirby, Ron Roberts has been really creative in how they bring pressure, sort of disguising it, trying to make it hard for offenses. What is that challenge that this Auburn defense presents in that way to your offensive line, just knowing where the pressure's coming from and how to pick it up?
Yeah, you don't necessarily know where it's coming from. That's what good defenses do. So when you don't know, you got assignments, right? So I got my guy, I got this guy, and if we don't got that guy, then the quarterback better know it, and everybody else needs to know that too. So, you know, there's only so many you can bring, and there's lots of them you can drop. And we like to think we do a lot to our quarterback off season and things like that year round here with our defense, but it's much tougher to when you go against somebody that maybe you don't traditionally play against. He does a tremendous job of exactly what you're talking about. So it's important to know your rules and know where your strengths and know where your weaknesses are.
Kirby, I want to ask for an update on Michael Williams, tying of Dawkins at that defensive end position, and how did Gabe Harris kind of perform whenever, you know, that increased opportunity this past night?
Yeah, I don't know that Gabe played a whole lot more. He did get an earlier opportunity, I felt like, and he's coming along really well. He's developing. He's getting better each week and getting more and more opportunities due to the injuries. But I'm hopeful that Gabe continues to grow. I mean, he's a guy that we're repping him a lot during practice. We're giving him a lot of extra work, trying to speed up what that process is because of the injuries we've had. Ty is coming into his 4th week, I think. And again, we don't know how long it's going to take. I don't expect him back this week. Michael, we're hopeful to get back if he's over the sickness.
Kirby, after watching the tape, how do you think Dylan Fairchild and Xavier Truss graded out in their new roles?
They did a good job. They've played very consistent throughout the year. Both of them have. Dylan obviously has played the same spot most of the time. Truss has played multiple spots, and some things they can do better and clean up confidence-wise, but I think they're getting better. They understand where their help is, what we're trying to do on certain plays, and the only way you get used to that is to keep playing, and they've done that.
You mentioned wanting to be elite and getting better. As far as just the play on the field, would you say that is elite? And if not, how close or far do you think that is?
I don't really judge it that way. I don't think that answers your question, but I'm looking at the progress, and I'm looking at how much we improve each week through our practices, because the game is such a small vision of what we see, and we put so much value in the prep, the walkthrough, the reps, the good on good, the opportunity periods where we get younger player snaps. I mean, I put so much into that. I've been very pleased at the progression we've had in that. As far as the field goes, it's so small that every test is another chance. It's like these little small chapters, and we're going into chapter, what is it, 5, I guess? So we're going into chapter 5, and we're going to see how we do.
Coach, just to follow up on Xavier Truss, is he the first football player you've ever recruited from Rhode Island? And is there any stories you remember about watching that level of football, or that kind of football, I should say?
Yeah, he is the first one to recruited from Rhode Island. He takes a lot of pride in that area, and he always defends high school football up there, although I don't know why he tries to defend it, but especially in this neck of the woods. But he vehemently declares that they have great high school football in the state, and that he's a product of that, and he always reminds us of the other kids that have come out of that area that have made it and played at big schools. But nothing really sticks out about the recruitment. Beautiful family, mom, dad, sisters, and I enjoyed going up there to visit them.
Kirby, curious what you've seen from this defense in run stopping, not just up the middle stuff, but the ability of the defense as a whole to be swarming to the ball.
We talking about our defense or their defense?
Yours.
Yeah, I think it's been really good in spurts, and it's been really poor in spurts. I think that's a common theme, is that the consistency in performance, and like it's not game by game, it's sometimes series by series, and we have had the fortune of playing a lot of players, so that's good. You gain depth doing that. We've played really dominant at times, sometimes against inferior opponents, and then we've had I mean, look, there's nobody. Our standard of defense here is so high that what we consider good play versus other people, it may be viewed different. I mean, we play against good thrower and good pass catchers. You're going to give up some plays, man. You got to accept that. But it's how you respond to those that's more important. So our swarm to the ball, I think, has been good. I like how our guys fly around. I love how they play. I love the passion they play with. And controlling the line of scrimmage is something that we have to do. Like, if we don't do that, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, through 4 games of the season, what have you made of the progress that the wide receiver room has made, especially as that position seems to be battling, availability, injuries, things like that?
Yeah, I think the younger players have all made great progress. I think the inconsistency of the availability has been the bigger problem with the older players, whether it's Rosamy, whether it's Ladd, whether anybody's dinged up, or the use of Dylan at running back. I mean, you've had the kind of in and out. Like last week was the first week that it was pretty consistent. Now, consistent without Ladd, but it was consistent. And then, you hope you have that consistency again this week. But we've had some young guys grow up and make some plays. C.J. Smith has stepped up and improved, and we've got to keep getting guys to do that.
I feel like we ask you this a lot, but Andrew Paul got a few more snap shares this past game and got an opportunity to really run the ball. What have you kind of continued to see from his progression going through the season and now being 4 games in?
Well, he's basically like a freshman, right? And so a lot of our freshman running backs they do it by committee. They get their opportunity, they get their turns. He's really improved tremendously at his pass pro, at picking people up. He's thick, he's heavy. And we've got some guys that we feel like are different than him in terms of weapons. So whether it's Cash, Dylan, Kendall Milton, Dejan, those guys are all playing there too. So we feel like Andrew's done a good job and continues to improve.
Let's take 2 more questions.
Kirby said you want to be elite at getting better each week. You've had a third of the season, 4 games. Where have you seen the most progress in getting better with this team?
It's hard to say one area. I feel like we've improved as a whole across the board. We obviously had a really good test there against South Carolina, who's a really good football team in my opinion, and we responded to that. But as far as pinpointing the area that it's each day in practice, the perimeter blocking, the ability to execute more calls on defense, and growing the library that we're comfortable with, quarterback getting experience in playing. They've done a good job. We did improve in the red area. It's one game, but it's like every game you can make a case what you improved and what you went backwards in. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing.
Just a special teams assessment and kickoff in particular. They had some pretty good returns this past Saturday. Looked like some, I don't know if his adjustment in the second half was much better. Kickoff coverage, that kind of.
No, I've been very pleased with kickoff coverage. I think we've done a great job. The ball placement, I wish it could improve, but what Zirkle does, he gets really good hang time. I think, if anything, you'd say they had opportunities to kick off to return the ball, where previously he's kicked them out. So to judge it previous to now, there's really been nothing there. So for those guys that went out there and covered it and made some nice tackles, nice plays, we want to continue to get more hang time on that with our kicker and continue to get the best guys on it to go down there and make tackles.